The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. Want the real story behind the sound bites and headlines? Let's find the facts. Remember, it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. You are not paranoid or confused. You just need to know.
Welcome, everybody. It is time for another edition of Need to Know, and this time we're coming to you. Kip Kiefer, your host, is living the dream. I'm broadcasting from my fantastic suite here at the fabulous Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas on the Strip, out here for the Global Gaming Convention, which is cranking up shortly today and will run through Thursday. Manufacturers of gaming machines from all over the world displaying their wares in a massive convention floor, and it's a great event every year. Meet a lot of people that are in the industry, reunite with a lot of people that are here, and of course in Vegas there's always something to do. This week we've got the opening night game on Wednesday, about half mile down the Strip at the T-Mobile Arena. The Las Vegas Golden Knights, 2 years now removed from their Stanley Cup championship. A little bit disappointing injury-riddled season last year, ending in a early playoff exit to the Dallas Stars, who went all the way to the finals. But we'll be there Wednesday night. The Golden Knights opening their season against the Colorado Avalanche, and it's going to be a great festive occasion like it is here. Everything's a production in Las Vegas. It's not just a hockey game. It is a three-ring circus. They do everything from just playing just great music and setting the mood to a celebrity who comes up before every game and starts the proceedings by cranking this siren thing. You see people like Wayne Newton, and I got to think of some of the other luminaries from last year, but it is absolutely fabulous. They'll be playing Colorado in the opener, and there's even a play, for lack of a better word, production before the games where whoever the invading team is, they have some evil guy in costume who's talking about coming to Vegas. They call the arena the Fortress for the Golden Knights. And of course, when the evil guy takes the ice and they've got him mic'd up and he's talking about, taking over the realm of Las Vegas and whatnot. I don't know who the Colorado Avalanche villain will be tonight or Wednesday night. But then the Golden Knight, of course, full of regalia, armor, lance, all the whole 9 yards. He comes on the ice and they duel. And, of course, the Golden Knight prevails. And so, I mean, it is a production. It is a happening every night. The vibe is incredible, and the celebrities are out every game. It is absolutely fabulous. So looking forward to that. And then Friday night, going to take a step back. The fabulous new $2 billion Sphere is here, about a block away from the Venetian. In fact, to get there, the most efficient route is to go through the underground areas, tunnels, connections of this property, and it comes out right at the entrance of the brand new Sphere, $2 billion, just world unique entertainment venue. That's the world's largest cylindrical building. So it's a giant circle with all just hundreds of video screens on the outside. It's really something to see. Inside, it is absolutely awe-inspiring what they've done. It's like you've heard of 4K and 5K technology. My technically versed son tells me this is 18K, the pixels of light that project everything that's happening. If you're watching they've got a couple of different movies that you can go on a normal day where there's not a big event, and that movie starts on a giant like drive-in theater type of screen, and the next thing you know, it's transcended all the way up to the ceiling above you. And remember, everything's round, so you're completely surrounded on the sides, overhead. uh the technology just blows me away. But you're just surrounded by all of this multi experience of visual and sound. And when in the one storm postcards from Earth, there's one scene where this ravaging storm is blowing up, and you can feel the wind on your face and your seat rumbles. I mean, the whole thing is just absolutely fantastic. Well, Friday and Saturday night here, the legendary band the Eagles will be performing at the Sphere. They've had some other concerts. U2, of course, kind of kicked this thing off last year when it first opened. We didn't go to see U2 last year, which is a show I would have seen because I've got a lot of like a lot of their music. They're not really a band that I was heavily into, but the Eagles back in the day, of course, were huge with Glenn Fry, Don Henley, and others. Anyway, the Eagles will be here Friday and Saturday night, and planning on going on Friday, and really, really looking forward to that, to see a concert in the Sphere, which I have not been able to do yet. Ironically, the only other event that I've attended at the Sphere, my son Case, of course, is the sports editor. You hear him a lot here on Tony Kurre Radio, on some of our shows, including K4 Wins, which is a very successful sports betting advice show that Kai Gregory, Tony Curry, myself, and my son Case Kiefer do here on the air. Of course, you can catch Case on the replays of the starting lineup. He's a regular on our show. But Case was covering back in the spring. The National Hockey League draft was actually held at the Sphere, which was pretty inspired thinking by the NHL to go to the most impressive entertainment venue in the world and conduct their draft. And I didn't really have a lot of expertise on Canadian junior hockey players or American college players, but it was just a really cool event to spend a little time at and watch how they projected everything. And so this will be my third chance to enter that building, but to see the Eagles is going to be very nostalgic for me. Last year, this same week, I was here to be on hand for this convention, and one of my all-time favorite performers, Jackson Brown, was having a residency for the week. Just coincidentally, wonderfully magnificent for me. And here at the Venetian, I just got on the elevator, got all dressed up for the affair, went down on the elevator, landed on the ground floor, walked about 200 yards to the Venetian Theater, and voila, there's Jackson Brown. And when the show was over, I just went to the elevator and went back to my suite. That was something that I had not experienced before and was absolutely great. Jackson Brown, now at the ripe old age of, or right young age, whatever you want to call it, of 74, still is absolutely fantastic. The reviews I've read of some of the Eagles tours lately, of course, we lost the great Glenn Fry a couple of years ago, went in for, quote, routine surgery. But when you get a little older, nothing's routine. And tragically, Glenn Fry did not survive. So he's gone. Vince Gill has taken his spot with Don Henley and most of the still in their 70s Eagles. But from what I've heard, the shows have been fantastic. I can't wait for that. So having just a great week. I've got so much family out here. I've got my grandson. We've got, ironically, this is how the other nature of Vegas, my very best friend who I just spent a lot of time with at the wedding in Indianapolis. Jim is coming out for a convention, not this one, but a different one. He'll be here tonight and through the first part of the week. So some more time to hang out with my pal. And also the sister of the bride at the wedding I went to, who is the daughters of one of my great friends who worked with me and has been a fantastic friend again since high school. She is coming out for that same convention that Jim's having to attend. So I'm going to have basically my niece and my best friend coming in along with of course my youngest son. So this is just a week of celebration. I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little raspy. I'm keeping up best I can, but I don't want to miss an opportunity to kind of bring you up to speed and encourage you guys, everybody listening. Life is about extraordinary moments, and you make your moments extraordinary by surrounding yourself with the people you love and care about. And there's nothing better. And that's the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas is fantastic. The festive atmosphere in Indianapolis was amazing, but it's the people that make the events. It's the it's the people that you surround yourself with, and it's the moments you relish and appreciate while they're happening that make life special. And congratulations to Mark's daughter Kaylee, who was the bride, married an outstanding young man from Indiana. It was a wonderful wedding, and I was so honored at that ceremony to be asked by the family to do the welcoming address for people that came to the very nice reception. That the randoms went the extra mile and then 50 more to make it special for everybody. Fantastic wedding dinner. I can't imagine the tab on that, but again, you make your moments extraordinary, and that's what life's all about. But in my speech or welcome, whatever you want to call it, I got a chance to talk about my friendship with Mark and my affection and respect and appreciation for what they've done in raising two amazing daughters. And Kaylee she was a Division I athlete at Southern Miss. She was a golfer. Uh, just the greatest, most loving, wonderful kid you could ever know, but very competitive, and I love that about her. I told the story about her and her family happening to be in Scotland for a family trip right during the British Open. They got the gallery, and the tournament, of course, ended on Sunday, all set up for the British Open. Mark got up at 3:30 in the morning, went and stood in line at the starters booth, which is the procedure if you have any intention of playing the old course at St. Andrews. The original golf course opened in the 12th century, but Mark waited in line patiently. And you have to meet the starter, talk about where you're from, why you want to play the course. It's not just first come first serve. He decides who gets the tee times, and I love that because it's based on merit. Mark explained that his daughter was about to become a Division I scholarship player, and her dream was to play the St. Andrews course. And lo and behold, he secured a tee time on that Monday, the day after the British Open, for he and Kaylee to play. And I just think it's so extraordinary that they had that father-daughter experience. Mark, of course, again had two daughters, and Kaylee even said in her remarks, it's the second time I've heard her say it, I tried to be the best son to my dad I could be. And boy, they were inseparable and big sports pals, went to so many games and things. She's just the congratulations to the groom because he's got a good one. But I told the crowd, I said, but you know what? Kaylee was so appreciative of her dad's efforts and the amazing feat of getting them on the course that she whipped his butt by 3 strokes when they played the 18 holes of the old course. So, and I related to that. I found out later on the fire of competitiveness from Kaylee. She was an intern right out of college in Birmingham, so she actually lived at my house for a summer while she was doing that. And one day she came home from work, and I was just out in the driveway shooting hoops, which I do for exercise every once in a while. Still love bouncing the ball around and working and convincing myself I'm still a great free throw shooter and shoot some jumpers. She went in the house, came back out a few minutes later. in casual gear and said, "Can I play?" And I said, "Sure." So we're shooting around talking about things, and I said, "Do you want to play horse?" And everybody knows the game of horse, where you shoot, the person behind you has to repeat your shot, or they get a letter. Well, I told the crowd that night that I made a long jumper to start the game, and Kaylee had to make that to avoid getting on the board. And getting on the board in horse is a bad thing. Once you spell HORSC, you miss 5 shots, you're the loser. So she misses her first shot, did not make it. She had an H, and I looked at the crowd and I said, "So I was ahead, but that was a serious mistake, because I saw the fire of competitiveness come up in her eyes and her mannerisms. All of a sudden, it was on." And I'm telling you, this is not her expertise. She had probably not shot a lot of basketball, but she kicked in that unbelievable competitive fire that she has, and skunked me the rest of the way. She made like 6 out of 7 shots. Uh, I was I was jelly, because once I got an H and an O and an R, I just couldn't stop the oncoming train. So I told that story, and people seem to be heavily entertained about just what an amazing person this kid is. And I concluded it with one of my favorite things that I have been allowed to say, or have used when speaking at weddings, including my nephew's last year, where I was actually asked to perform the ceremony, which was an incredible honor. I'd done tons of eulogies and different things, which is a sad occasion, of course, but a very sacred one, because I don't like impersonal weddings. I don't like impersonal funerals where somebody stands up that didn't even know the person that you're honoring and saying goodbye to, saying, "I've heard stories about so and so." I mean, come on now. We don't just need to mail in the special moments of life, including the end of life. A real tribute needs to be made. But I always say in my wedding talks, if I get the chance, one of my favorite lines, and that line is, these miracles of great unions, people coming together, have special meaning, and they do things that you would never think, like simple math. Everybody knows 1 + 1 = 2. But in a situation like this, where true love happens and two great people and families come together, 1 + 1 has a different result. 1 plus the 1 equals everything. And it's something that I always like to relate, because it does. It opens up the possibilities of living your life to the absolute extreme. My wedding is something that I will cherish and relish every moment of forevermore. And ironically, Mark met his wife Cindy. They met at my wedding. So not only do I have a great connection to Mark going back to the 8th grade, uh, Kathy, my former wife, cousin with Cindy, who is Mark's wife now and mother of the 2 great daughters. So I said, so basically, I'm responsible for everybody being here tonight, with my relentless pursuit of my wife resulting in the meeting of Mark and Cindy. And I was standing with Mark when she first came in that night at the rehearsal dinner, and he said, "Who is that?" I'll never forget that. And look what it's led to. So anyway, that was about 10 more minutes that I was going to wax poetic about what I'm doing and what I'm up to. But this is need to know, and I don't know if you needed to know all that, but hopefully that gave you some warm memories of your own stories, and the message there is relish the moments. Now I'm going to pivot to something that happened in Indianapolis, which is really what I wanted to talk about. So I'm not going to just go on and on about this, but I think it's very, very eye-opening. As we sit here, I record this on October 7th. This is the 1-year anniversary of the horrible massacre committed by the Hamas terrorists last year in Israel on the southern border, where they basically invaded the country with various means of getting in and slaughtered almost 1,400 people. That's the number that were killed. The number terrorized is a lot higher than that. Young girls, women, sexually molested, tortured, old people, babies, children rounded up and just killed indiscriminately, and hundreds of people taken hostage. Can you imagine? You're walking around, you're thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow. Oh, I've got to do this next week. I've got to, get by the bank and do this and that. And somebody grabs you and takes you to another country and imprisons you. And probably, we don't even know the numbers, 80 or 90 people were released in prisoner swaps early on, which was one of the motivations that Hamas used, because they wanted to get some of their more seasoned fighters that had been arrested in Israel out of prison. But the bottom line is, can you imagine your life being completely interrupted with something like this happening? And these people are still in captivity. It's a year later. The ones that have survived, we know that a number of them are dead now, including the 6 recently executed as the Israeli army closed in on their hiding location. Uh, it's just mind-boggling that we've got people in the streets in New York today supporting the Hamas terrorists and what they did on this day a year ago. It's absolutely staggering that we have this far leftist movement, this evil movement that wants to transform everybody's rights and freedoms and religious liberties, what you can drive, what you can own, where you can go, what you can do for a living. These people are just plain evil, and it's very disappointing to me that young people in these elite institutions in the Ivy League and other schools are most of the people out in the street screaming, death to Israel and carrying Hamas flags. Hamas is not a country. They've been energized by these cretinous leftists who tell them that Israel's evil, that they have a genocide agenda against the Palestinian people, against the Lebanese people. Israel has not sent attackers into these places and murdered children and raped women and indiscriminately killed thousands of people. These are terrorist organizations. Hezbollah and Hamas are not countries. They are recognized terrorist organizations. So you're telling me that the supposedly best and brightest students we have are in the street marching for terrorists? It's just so upside down and so insane that it's hard to even understand. I've told you on this broadcast, everybody's saying, well, Israel just needs to be reasonable, sit down, arrange a ceasefire, because they're still in Gaza with the intent of stomping out Hamas once and for all, because Hamas's stated goal is to eliminate Israel as a state and basically kill every Jewish person. We're living World War II Holocaust all over again. And yet that agenda is supported by people in the streets. It's just beyond comprehension. So anyway, that's the anniversary today. I hope everybody will take a minute and understand that this is sheer evil, and everybody has the right for life and liberty, and choose good over evil. If we let this current administration, who is evil to the core and politicized to the core, that's using government for their own purposes, not for the best good of the American people, then we are absolutely insane and deserve whatever we get. And that's what I want to bring you to Friday afternoon, reunited with my good lifelong friends. Was sitting with the Hardys, who I've known separately and married. Steve has been one of my best friends, one of the best basketball players that I've ever known. He had a scholarship to Coastal Carolina. Steve could shoot it from anywhere. It's just a shame that he played right in the era just before the three-point line, because he used to shoot where they should have counted for 4 points and make them. But Steve's a great guy, has had a great career, just wrapped it up. He was like a drafting engineer for a couple of different big company concerns. Really a terrific guy. His wife Betty has been involved for many years with the same company and worked her way up basically from the office manager to the CEO now. They are living a great life and getting to do a lot of fantastic things. But we were having a fantastic time sitting around the lounge at the hotel at the Capitol Grill inside the hotel in Indianapolis, and basically got into kind of an animated conversation about politics and news and items. And it was started by talking about the poor folks, I mean, absolutely destitute people in Western North Carolina. You might have been reading and hearing about it. It's now more than a week removed from when the storm, Hurricane Helene, hit the Florida Panhandle, and it gathered enough momentum coming ashore that it roared through the southeast up through Georgia and South Carolina. And the hardest hit place is Western North Carolina. Now, this is not a hurricane that hit on the shores of the Atlantic in North Carolina or near any of their beaches or South Carolina coastal areas. This came up through the landfall and had enough momentum and enough moisture in it to pour down biblical amounts of rainfall, so much that it basically washed mountainsides away. They had had torrential rains the couple weeks before. The ground was already saturated, and now you've just got just tons of water just being pounded on the land below. There was enough wind force still where trees were just giving way. My good friend Joe Lippum in Augusta, Georgia, had a giant tree fall and cut his house basically in half. I mean, it's just unthinkable what happened. And I heard one of the pundits this week say something, and I just related this in my conversation with Steve and Betty Ann at the restaurant as we sat there enjoying some cold drinks before the evening festivities. And I said, I heard one of the pundits on TV say, well, these people, are in terrible despair, but they just were not prepared at all for this situation. How do you prepare for a hurricane that's hitting in the Florida Panhandle nearest to Tallahassee and the edge of the top corner of southwestern Georgia if you're living in Asheville, North Carolina? That storm is somebody else's problem. You don't prepare for that. You don't know that this thing is going to just be the perfect storm in terms of once in a century or in 2 centuries even, going to be able to have enough strength and enough momentum still by the time it gets to you hundreds of miles away. Landfall, a hurricane weakens right away, but it's the excessive rainfall that has caused all the trouble, all the mudslides, all the flooding, and it has left this area absolutely devastated. And we were talking about that and how the federal government has chosen to kind of slow walk coming in and helping these poor people whose lives are just destroyed. Their homes have been swept away by floods and mudslides and trees down. I mean, the whole place is a disaster. There's no power. There's no cell service. They need food. They need relief. And there are independent agencies trying to help that are being caught up in government red tape. They're slow walking the whole thing. And I made the point that, if this had happened in some other areas that are more politically affiliated with what their agenda is, I don't think you would be seeing this. But Western North Carolina is a very red area. It is a place where, Republicans carry the day. And, I wouldn't be this skeptical and this conspiratorial, except we saw this in Palestine, Ohio, last year when the major chemical train derailed and that area was absolutely destitute. And there was no response from the Department of Transportation, from the White House, from the Washington bureaucracy. These people were in complete disarray and despair and danger for a week or more. It took President Biden a year and a month to even visit that area. He didn't go there. And that would not be happening in areas that they have heavy support. So this government is so politicized. It now doesn't just respond to any American. It responds to Americans that are affiliated philosophically with what they are trying to sell you. And it's not a coincidence that these areas that are not really friendly territory for them go to the back of the line. That completely, who even looks like the devil, Mayorkas, who is the head of the Department of Homeland Security, and of course he has FEMA under his list of 22 agencies. He has said, well, our budget is just exhausted. We don't have the funds to come in full force right now and help these people. Well, their budget is exhausted because they've spent billions with a B of dollars on resettling and housing and taking care of all these invaders in our country. And it's just appalling that Americans have to go to the back of the line. And our presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, tweeted on Thursday as the Israelis started operations to try and wipe out Hezbollah on the other side of their country, on the northern border. She was praying for the Lebanese people who are caught in the crossfire of this aggressiveness by the Israelis. These people are trying to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Israel is fighting for its survival. And yet Kamala Harris, running for president, is not concerned about people in North Carolina. She's concerned about people 7,000 miles away in Lebanon. Folks, America needs to be first. Americans need to be first. We are not the global benefactor. We are a stable, steady force, and a strong America, an America that stands on the founding principles that we have, is the America the world needs, not an America that plays political games and sides with the wrong teams. Anytime people running for office are sympathetic toward terrorists and people in the streets of that inclination are just carrying Hamas flags, it's unthinkable. So we're talking about that, and this little dweeby guy comes over in a cheap sport coat and says, hey, may I ask you all to please tone down your rhetoric? You're getting a little loud and you're saying a lot of things that other people, might have a lot different opinions. It's just not a good situation that you all are talking about all these controversial subjects. And I looked at him very calmly and I said, oh, excuse me, I thought we were in America. And he said, well, of course you're in America, but it's just abrasive content to your all's conversation, and you're getting a little loud. So I'm really politely asking you to stop. And I mean, what a moment to contemplate that, because I have, by constitutional right, if I wanted to stand up on a bar stool and address the crowd in that bar, I have every right to do so. I can express my thoughts as they can express theirs. I said to him as he walked away, if they have different opinions, they can express them too. That's what this is all about. And believe me, our conversation was not abrasive. It was not anti anyone in terms of making threats or saying anything except for pointing out the terrible inconsistencies of this government and the fact that it is now weaponized against Americans that don't agree with them. And it's a point that needs to be made. It's a point that needs to be considered. But when you've got guys coming over and saying, look, tone down the rhetoric, you're offending people, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if they're offended. Of course, there were only a handful of people even in the bar, and nobody sitting right near us. I think he was offended because he was hearing things that he had never heard before. If you watch mainstream media or you get your information from TikTok or other sources, you're not going to know the things we were talking about, and it's going to sound to you like it's just some kind of propaganda. But I think everybody who's listened to this show knows I tell the truth. I tell what I think. If you don't agree with me, I have total respect for that. If you have a different opinion and you want to air that, I'll listen to every word. I'm not telling people how to think. I'm telling people what I think, and I think I'm saying think a lot. I believe that what I'm telling you is the absolute truth because I'm not going to take BS or rhetoric from either side. I'm going to gather my facts. I'm going to know the situation. I'm going to know the principles involved in the discussion, and I'm going to give you my perspective. And I think I've earned the right through a lot of years on this earth and a whole lot of experiences to be able to do that effectively. So that's what I wanted to say. This is America. We need to take it back because when you have lounge managers being coming over and telling you to tone down the speech because other people have different opinions, that's what America is all about. Different opinions is what makes us strong, is what makes us have the foundation to be the greatest nation in the country. And when we've reached this point, God help us, folks. This is America, and America needs to be America again. Thanks so much for listening. Another edition of Need to Know. I will try to have an extra cocktail and an extra extraordinary moment for everybody listening. But take the other big advice of this program today. Make the most of the moments that you have and make as many of those extraordinary as possible, because you'll find out later on in life, so many of the moments that you think are just routine, those are the moments that become extraordinary. I'm Kip Kiefer. Always a pleasure to be with you here on TKR. Thanks to Tony Kurre and David Sears for making all of this possible. David does all the great technical work. Tony, of course, the wizard at the controls behind the curtain of everything TKR. Don't miss all of our other great programs this week, including Kiefer and Kurre and the starting lineup, which is our great football program on Saturday mornings. I'll be doing my part of the starting lineup this week from Las Vegas Boulevard. I can't wait. We will see you later in the week on some of our other shows. Thank you so much for listening to Need to Know.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.